Well, it's been nothing but bad news for the cruise industry this year. How about a little bit of good news? I'm Scott Ott, and this episode of Right Angles brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. I'm with Stephen Green and Bill Whittle. And gentlemen, Royal Caribbean Cruise Line stock surged about 10% on news of remarkably strong bookings for the 2021 season. One of the most striking features of that surge was the fact that some 60% of these bookings are coming from new customers. These are people who are not previously cruise addicts, as many people become once they've been on one. Bill Whittle, I find this fascinating. I mean, Royal Caribbean stock went from a 52-week high of 135 down to under $20, and now is recovered up at around $60. They say that their liquidity is good in the sense that they're able to get enough investment cash to keep things flowing. But with a second quarter loss of $1.6 billion and a burn rate of $250 million a month, you would think it would be nothing but dreary doldrums coming out of Royal Caribbean. What do you think of this news?
Well, I think if Royal Caribbean can hang on until late November, the BillWhittle.com Strata Cruise will pretty much put them back in the black again. So if they can just hang on, maybe get some bridge loans or something like that, it's just really, really good news. It's in the same sense of aviation, there are just entire sectors that get hit harder than other sectors, and Royal Caribbean is the line that we're going to be using for the Strata Cruise, and we're very happy about that. And I'm glad that they're going to be there when we are able to reboard again in November.
And by the way, Bill, it's my understanding that, and this wasn't intended as a commercial for our
of course not. No, I made it that.
However, it's my understanding that there may, before our cruise happens, we may reopen bookings. Is that a possibility? Do you know? Yes,
in fact, it is definitely not only a possibility, but a likelihood, if not a certainty. And that's encouraging too, because I'm just glad they're going to be there. The original idea for the Strata Cruise was I was going to rent a narco submarine, and we were going to take 7 people at $65,000 a head, and it would be 3.5 months, all hot bunking, shoulder to shoulder. Not going to get to see anything, of course, because there are no windows on one of those. And I don't know, just the bookings were just nothing like what we wanted.
You're the Richard Branson of the Mariana Trench, my brother.
Thank you very much. And I don't know what either of those words mean. But nevertheless, that wasn't as successful as we would have liked. Like my bat taco thing was killed by COVID-19. But in any event, seriously, I have to say I'm a bit surprised and exceedingly pleased. And you know what I think it is, Scott? I think the reason they get so many new customers coming up is that people, I think really, I'm not joking now. I think in a real spiritual sense, people want to kind of stand on the bow of an ocean liner and get fresh salt air in their lungs. And if you're going to go outside, by God, that's about as outside as you can get. And I hope that's what's driving it, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend the whole time up on the front with my arms out in the air. It's king of the world.
And Steve will be behind you holding your waist gently so that you don't lose your balance.
We've already negotiated that.
It's funny that you say that.
That's some fanfic that I don't want to get into.
It's been a long time, but I've only ever been on one cruise. It was a relatively short Caribbean cruise. And while everything that you could ever want, your heart's desire, is there on board, and there's an entire shopping mall and multiple restaurants and all of this activity and shows. Like, we went to see an ice show on the ship in the Caribbean. There was like ice dancing stuff. All of that's going on. But the thing that I remember most about the cruise was standing on my balcony, staring out into the vastness of the ocean, and just for long periods of time, just drinking that in, and then looking down in the water and seeing porpoises that were keeping pace with the bow of the ship, although I didn't realize how high above the water I was. And at first I saw them and I thought they were little kind of sunfish or something. They looked like they were this big. And then I realized I was like 100 feet above the surface of the water. And those were actually pretty good sized fish. But I think you're right. People have been penned in. And that's what the CEO at Royal Caribbean says, Steve Green. He said that there's this pent up demand from people who, for want of a better term, he didn't say this, I'm saying this. Steve, do you think some people have taken a moment of reflection and they've rethought their lives and said maybe a little more adventure would be good for me?
Yeah, this has me rethinking some stuff. I've never been on a cruise. The whole idea never interested me. I couldn't wrap my brain around the idea of getting on board a ship about the size of an aircraft carrier with about the same number of people that cruise an aircraft carrier and yet not have the ability to launch any FA-18 Hornets. To me, that was just...
It's definitely downer.
You can shoot skeet off the stern.
Who's stern? That sounds dangerous, reckless even. Dear God,
it's a little
just
DiCaprio.
Kind of the clay pigeon there.
Shoot him with a phalanx.
Right. So yeah, and then Bill started telling us about the Strato cruise, and I thought, well, I'm still not really a cruise guy, but the idea, I'd do anything for BillWhittle.com members. Of course, I'll go on the Strato cruise. And also, whenever I do public things like this, whether it's CPAC or Tea Party events back in the day or all that, I always get a chance to show off what really becomes performance art at that point, and it's my ability to drink in public and maintain my composure. It's really a lot of fun, and I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started actually looking forward to the Strato cruise when it got postponed. I'm like, oh man, I really hope this happens now. And for the first time in my life, I'm actually excited about a cruise. And I don't think it's about being cramped up in the house all this time. Scott, I think you hit it on the head when it's not about escape. It's about reassessing what your realm of experiences have been and what they could be. And don't we want to expand that? You were talking about the share prices for, was it Royal Caribbean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When the airline stocks took the exact same beating, I thought, well, man, I should buy some of those. But I had absolutely no idea which airline to buy shares in, because I couldn't figure out how this was going to sort out. Would the big players be in the best position to survive and drive the little guys out of business, or would their huge cost structures be a hindrance and it would be the little scrappy guys that will come up like mammals after the dinosaurs went extinct? And I couldn't figure it out. I ran the numbers. I got nowhere. And so I decided to buy an ETF, an exchange traded fund, which is sort of like a mutual fund, and they represent different industries or different slivers of industries. And I bought one called Jets that represents the airline industry, and it's at $15, I think, flat when I bought the thing. And in the last couple of weeks, it's up almost 11%. And I'm thinking, number one, that's got to go nowhere but up. So I'm not going to take my 10%, 11%, whatever and run. I'm just sit on that for a year, because people have got to get out. People want to get out in ways I think they never did before. And as much as I used to love road trips, really anything more than about 1,000 miles and the driving starts to get to be aware, I think this is going to be a huge boon for travel when this thing finally ends. And I just want enough of us to be around to take advantage of it.
I think this story captivated me. You might think, well, what are we doing? This is not CNBC and, doing some business report. That's not what this is about. What I found interesting to this is it's kind of like the relationship between polls and elections. There's one that you think is an indicator of how things are going, and it doesn't always look good for your guy or gal. But the only one that really counts is the one that happens at the ballot box. That's the final poll. That's the one they tabulate. That's the one that decides which direction the country or the community is going. It's this difference between opinion and actual investment, I think, says more about the American people and our current state of mind than almost anything I've seen. I watch a lot of media. I consume a lot of written media, and the overall idea you get from, let's just call it the progressive mainstream media, is that Americans who engage in activities where they're coming together or going places are delusional. They're not accepting the way things are. But I think it shows something different. When a person buys a cruise ticket right now in the midst of this so-called resurgence of the pandemic, I don't think they're delusional. I think they're indefatigable. I think that these are people who are expressing a boundless hope that cannot be suppressed, no matter the barrage of news. Whether it's accurate or inaccurate really doesn't matter. It's in the beating heart of every American to say things are going to be better. Things are headed in the right direction. It doesn't matter how bad things get. We will overcome this. And that's what I love about this story. It's not that we're going to get to go on a cruise in December or whenever it ultimately happens. It's not that stocks are rising for Royal Caribbean or any other cruise line. It's the vote of the American people that's an expression of faith and hope and determination. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for the members at BillWhittle.com who make this possible.